is I know there's not a lot of time, so I think probably the best thing is I will whiz through it, and then actually we can do a kind of Q&A if you want, and I can answer any questions that you have. So British Heart Foundation, they spend a lot of time and effort trying to get people to give them money to donate. What they wanted to do and why they came to us was to say, actually, what we want is people giving us more money. So high net worth individuals who will be on kind of join them on a journey and donate more money than say £5 here or even like £100 here or £200 here. So how the question really is, how do you convince high net worth individuals to give money? Well, the first thing to consider is that the mindset has to change. They are going to, by nature, if they're going to be donating 100 grand and above, they're going to be they need to be more engaged. They need to feel like their money is being spent or understand where their money is being spent, but also feel that there is a legacy there. So that was the first thing that we went to. Now, there is a huge uplift in legacy giving anyway, so people who leave it in their wills. So the angle that we took here was to say, why wait till they die? Why don't we convince them that they can have a living legacy as they are alive? So we did three things here from a kind of strategic point of view. The first was we showed them that they are really aligned with our audience, and this is our audience for three major reasons. One, they've got the money, so there's no need to go anywhere else. Our readers and our subscribers and our audience has the money to be able to donate £100,000 or above, or 50,000, or some relatively serious money. They also are compassionate, so there is a willingness to kind of contribute to society, which I think is important if you're going to be giving money for a good cause. And the third is that they're very engaged, so they care about a company's social record. So those three factors mean that we have an open-minded audience that we can prove to them that is valuable. What was key here is actually they did some work last year and did a project with, I can't remember the name of them, but they basically were, it wasn't the Financial Times, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have like what I spend or what the spend. Do you know that bit where there's like, just spend all your money on cars? Well, basically they went with a media publisher that was similar. And my point to them in the room was, it's all very good that people have got the money, but if you're engaging them in a place or where they're thinking about a nice car or a diamond necklace, you are not going to suddenly convince them that they should shift from buying stuff for themselves to giving money for their legacy. So what I'm saying to them is, you can reach our audience in that space. We know they're engaged, we know they're compassionate, we know they're affluent. So you're not just reaching people who want to buy a car. So the second thing we thought about was the persuasive message, and that is about leaving a legacy. But it's leaving a living legacy. So again, you don't have to wait till you die. So that meant that anything we do has to convince them that where their money is being spent will reflect well upon them. So if you're going to spend it on X, you need to be engaged in the fact that you believe that X will work. And the third bit was, how do we take them on the journey? So what's the digital experience to go from, oh, I'm kind of interested, but how do you convince them beyond just telling them a story? And also the final bit is the media players, like, we needed to do retargeting, because the point is, you can't just convince someone to donate 100 grand or even be interested in donating 100 grand with one impact. So anyway, those are the three things that we looked at. I think I've got one more slide that will just show you what we did. This is just about media, but so if you look on the right, the audience journey, this is what we created. So we created basically a way where they could learn and understand where their money would go. So there would be an overarching research pillar. So we would say, this is where you can visualize your legacy basically within this particular research pillar, and 5 ways that three ways that a different donation would be spent. So if they donated 5k, if they donated 50k, and if they donated 100k. And then we had a case study that followed up, but the case study was used in retargeting. So ultimately, we would be able to take them on a journey that didn't feel like we went from 0 to 100 and said, like hat in hand, say, just give us 100 grand straight off. What we were able to do is say, are you interested in this piece of information, this area within heart health? Have you thought about this is actually what you could achieve? And then finally, and here's an example, a cool, fun, well, not fun, but like cool story of like how it was achieved. So that was the way that we're hoping that we will be able to take them on that journey. This will be the hub. It's been designed. This is actually the mock-up, but it's not too dissimilar. But as you can see, it allows you to choose from 3 of the pillars, and each pillar will have the legacy visualizations that you'll be able to look at. And then we worked and then retargeting. So what we carved out some budget to retarget via social, but also a little bit across our display. So we were able to say, okay, well, we know that these people have clicked and explored. Let's retarget them again in 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks time. I can't actually remember the timing in terms of how long we've waited to retarget, but I'll be able to dig that out. That's kind of it, really. So essentially, the lead gen bit is the bit that's going to be critical. So every page here, we're building out a form so that we will be collating that data and then sharing that with the client. Not to get too deep into the technical bit, but what you have to work out with clients is, well, GDPR is one, but do we host the form, or do they host the form? Or do we host the form and take the content? Do they host the form and take the leads? Where we ended up was we're hosting the form, I believe, but all the data gets automatically sent to them, so we don't have to worry about GDPR. I think is the way that we've struggled, but it will be different for each client. But having that lead generation moment is something that we struggle with at The Economist, and this is one way to try and not just use one piece of content to then put it in front of a what's the word, ring fence it so that they have to give you email. This is a way to make lead generation feel more native in the experience, and that's it. Sakina.
Hi, this is fantastic. Louis and I have talked extensively about this because I have a current proposal that focuses exactly on this, and you might have heard it's with Boston Children's Trust.
Cool.
The question I have is around the donation values. Was that given to us by the client, or did we say, you know what, these are the tiers we think are the most, I guess this is how we're proposing you tier it. The reason I ask is because when you talk about high net worth, right, you're talking about millions, and that's like a key differentiator. And that's who BCH is targeting. So I wonder if there is a difference in strategy if you're looking at higher net worth.
So I think it depends on the organization. So there's a few things at play here. What is a big donation will change by the charity or the foundation. So 100 grand is a big donation from the British Heart Foundation from a living person. You might get more in wills where people are feeling more generous because for obvious reasons, they're not going to use the money, and it's a good tax break for future generations, I guess. So I think that's the first thing. So working with them on what it will be. From a strategic point of view, I think the amount, it's very important to make clear to the client, we are not promising that you are going to get a donation. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can't be on the line to say there can't be KPI to say you're going to get 3 donors. What we have to say is our role begins and ends with turning our audience into an interested audience. So from not really caring to I want to have a conversation, or I'm open to a conversation with the British Heart Foundation, that's the journey that we need to stress. And so you then come in, if you take that as the objective, your strategy then has to be what is going to convince this audience. And saying 1 million, I don't think, and I don't have the data to prove this, and I think this will be interesting to see what happens if we do more campaigns with different giving levels. Maybe we'll know a bit more, but it'd be interesting to know whether we get more, even just on this one, whether we get more leads from 5k or whether we get more leads from 100k. That'll be interesting, because then we'll know actually the door opener, it doesn't need 100 grand, or it doesn't need 1 million, it doesn't need this huge number. But then again, then it's up to the client to follow that data through. So if we say you get 3 people coming in from 5K and 3 people come from 100, and one of those 100K turns into 1 million, then you could argue that they are better qualified. But there's a lot of data that you need to crunch to kind of work that out. So if I'm honest, it's a bit of a finger in the air.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
When is this going to be live, Patrick?
So I believe that it will be live in December. So that was another piece that we made recommendations. So we are doing the main thrust in December because there is a stat that is out there, but people are more giving in December, as you'd probably appreciate. And there's a stat that proves that. And then the retargeting will happen in January. So hopefully, ideally, we would have. It's hard to manage that, but yeah, that's how it would run. So December and then into January.
I do think as a team, like we're not doing enough of this, like high net worth individuals. And Louis, I'll let you talk about it a little more, but yeah, go for it.
The other thing to think about, just to put it out there, is does this model need to be about fundraising? So, because leads are leads, whether you're asking to get a lead for someone who's going to give you money, or you're asking for a lead for somebody to give you time, or if you're asking for a lead to learn more about you as an organization. So I think it would be not reductive, but like maybe we're missing opportunity if we only think about this as fundraising.
I think it's fantastic, Pat. I really love the way you you look at this. It's not about committing to KPIs, how you turn audience which fits the bill to an engaged audience. And this is very powerful. That it's a blueprint. As Sakina said, this is not something we do. But let's see how it, if it's successful. I think you, Sakina and Pat, you should definitely talk and start thinking about, ideas for the Boston Children's Hospital. To your point, Pat, I think there's more, in my opinion, to, in our category, donors to some of those organizations. That's an obvious one, because there's plenty of foundations we are Julie and others are talking to. I think there's something as well about if you think about the marketing funnel, we do a lot at the top with the awareness, the research, the thought leadership, but this is about their story. This is studio type of work, and the way it's done, in my opinion, is super powerful. So how do we think about our programs when there is some strong KPIs in terms of return on investment, and that's with the pressure they're under CMO, it's going to be more about this. So how can you strategists, you guys can think around those lines to add this piece into the puzzle? Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel sometimes it's missing. And there's something there also with the use of LinkedIn, with the form. You didn't talk about this, but yeah, as far as I could see, reading the proposal, it's much easier, when you're on LinkedIn, because all the data is already filled in, if you click on the button. So yeah, just maybe this is also another opportunity beyond just donors, as you said.
Yeah, and I think this also ties into a huge issue around data within the organization. So I'm working on Neom as well, and they're raising some big questions about how we identify our audience, how we then track them across our channels, how do we then target them? There's some big questions that Claudia and the new chief data officer is going to have to deal with. But ultimately, this should be the beginning of a Heart Foundation journey, because once you get these leads, or we're not tracking them, that's British Heart Foundation. So it's a question around what you do with the data, I think, is going to be quite critical, and that goes for every campaign we run. So when you talk about looking at it as a whole, so what is our top funnel execution, and then how do we build in a low or mid to low funnel part of that campaign? The big thing that jumps out to me is, are we doing enough to track from the top funnel right down through? Are we doing enough to track down the funnel? And my understanding is we don't do anything. We're very weak on first party data, for example. So I think there's a lot. It's just to put it in the context of the organization. So I think there's some work to be done there.
Amazing. We're on time. you can reach out to Pat if you have any questions. I think in terms of like for this group, Sakina, since you're going to talk to him about Boston, let us know about the developments with BHS. You know, when there's some news, maybe Pat, you come back, because like this practice, this team has a very strong interest in the outcome of this program. Basically,
I should give shout outs. Like Stuart was really involved in this. Aaron was really involved in this in terms of the digital build. So there's a whole team around this, which I think has really brought it to life and added value and ideas and stuff. So it's been really good. It wasn't just me. Cool. Thanks everybody. Have a good day.